Republicans are Nazis. You cannot separate yourselves from the bad white people.
Growing up, I never thought much about race. It never really seemed to matter that much, at least not to me.
Am I racist?
I would really appreciate it if you left.
I'm trying to learn. I'm on this journey.
If I'm going to sort this out, I need to go deeper undercover.
Joining us now is Matt, certified DEI expert.
Here's my certification.
And what you're doing is you're stretching out of your whiteness. This is more for you in this field. Is America inherently racist?
The word inherent is challenging there.
I want to rename the George Washington Monument to the George Floyd Monument.
America is racist to its bones.
So inherently.
Yeah, this country is a piece of
White.
Folks,
White.
trash, white supremacy,
White woman, white boy.
Is there a black person around? There's a black person right here. Does he not exist?
Hi, Robin.
Hi, what's your name?
I'm Matt.
Just had to ask who you are because you have to be careful.
Never be too careful.
In theaters September 13th, rated PG-13.
We have hit the halfway point of the week. Football returns tomorrow. We got Josh Pate on the show today. We'll be breaking down some more games, taking your calls. But before we get into the sports, there's a ton of it. We got Get Off My Lawn today as well. September 11th.
Yeah.
It's a long time ago. It's crazy to think now we're in 2024 that this happened 23 years ago. But I can still remember exactly where I was when it happened. I was in school, and my mom came and got us out of school.
Really?
Yeah, she came and checked
how long did it
out
take?
of school. It was quick.
Really?
After because you could tell something was going on at school. So she came and got us out, went home, and that's when you watched and you really kind of started to figure out what's going on. But, regardless of how long it is ago, it's, you never forget the people that obviously died and the people that sacrificed themselves to save others. I mean, look at the firemen, the police officers, the people on the planes, the one that crashed that they, knew they were going to hit a building. And I think Todd Beamer was his name. They took that plane down. But it's also a time, too, to remember that, as comfortable as we get here, there are people that hate us for our ability just to do this. To have freedom of speech and hate the way we live and want to attack us, and just reinforces how grateful we all should be for the people that protect us, whether it's the troops, whether it's the police, and stuff like that, man. But I can still remember, David, exactly.
Me too. I was in 8th grade math class, and then the teacher started to put it on TV, and I didn't really know yet what was going on. I mean, just thought it was a plane that somehow accidentally hit the first one or whatever, just casually they're turning it on trying to figure out what's going on. And then pretty quickly we realized it was a terrorist attack. And I remember by the time I switched classes to the next one, English class, the look on my teacher's face, I was like, man, this is on a whole different level of anything I've experienced.
It's our our generation's, I guess, Pearl Harbor's is, kind of that moment of, oh my goodness, we're under attack. Somebody literally had the balls to come and try and attack us. And again, you know how that always ends. We're going to come out.
And then the whole country came together after that.
I know. When you think about
now that's all.
I still think that was the George Bush throwing that strike, regardless of what you think about it, was the most important pitch in the history of sports.
I wish it didn't take incidents like that for the whole country to come together.
I know.
United.
Well, then you look at where we're at now and compared to at that moment, and it's totally different. But just to, everybody out there that lost somebody and everybody out there that serves and protects us, so we can talk about Missouri hosting Boston College and talk about, Florida and Texas A&M. We just, we're very appreciative. All right, let's get to it. Billy Napier plans to play 2 quarterbacks for Florida this weekend. Josh Pate joins us to preview all of Week 3 in college football and a little bit more. And some details have emerged about Tyreek Hill's detainment last Sunday before the Dolphins game. I'm Jay Crain. It's a Wednesday with an I here at Crain & Company. Billy Napier's in a weird place right now. On one hand, after the Miami debacle in Game 1, his seat is currently still on fire. But freshman phenom DJ Lagway gave him a mini fire extinguisher after giving Florida fans a glimpse of hope albeit against Samford. The Gators, returning veteran quarterback Graham Mertz, was pretty good last season. He surprised a lot of us, but struggled against Miami before getting pulled because of a concussion. But it really was just one bad game, and in aggregate, he's done a lot more good than bad while he's been in Gainesville. So if you're Billy, do you try and save yourself by just playing the freshman and hope he can show enough to keep you in Gainesville and win enough games? Or do you dance with the one that brought you in, Graham Mertz? Well, his answer is both. The old saying, if you have two quarterbacks, you don't have one, still rings true. But it doesn't matter if you aren't the coach anymore. So he pretty much has to do this. So the question now becomes, what does that look like? How do you employ it? Do you rotate your quarterbacks every drive, every other drive? Or do you just bring Lagway in certain downs and distance situations, or maybe even in the red zone? Now, to me, the best way to go about this is to start Mertz. You give him 3 drives. If he's cooking, leave him in there. If he's just doing okay and they're not moving the ball or even doing poorly, put the young guy in and see if he can give you a spark. Setting a pregame rotation at quarterback, regardless of performance, is not the best way to go about it, in my opinion. Let the players make the decision for you by the way they play on the field, because if Mertz plays well, you look smart. If he doesn't and you bring in DJ, you look willing to do whatever it takes to win. Now, I do not envy Billy Napier because his hand seems forced, but there is a way to thread this needle. And against Texas A&M, let's see if he can do it. Former Michigan quarterback David Cohn, my brother, former Western State Colorado wide receiver Blaine Crain. David, when you look at this game and you look at the way that DJ played last week against Samford, if you're Billy Napier, you said you're going to play 2 guys. How do you go about doing it, being a former quarterback at a big-time?
Yeah, I've seen it, man. It's a tough situation all the way around. It's tough for Billy Napier because you may be forced to start the guy who doesn't give you the best chance to win, but based off external pressure and, you know, your need to showcase what the future is going to look like. It's tough for DJ Lagway because you may not be the guy who gives the team the best chance to win, but you got to go out there and play the best you can. And it's tough for Graham Mertz because you transferred in and really have played good football. I mean, he was ranked the last ranked preseason SEC quarterback a year ago, threw for almost 3,000 yards. And look, he's not the reason that you didn't beat Miami. I think we can say that. But at the end of the day, it's not completely unique of a situation because we've seen circumstances before where a coach has to play a highly touted freshman because they recruited him. And now in the NIL era, you're paying guys a lot of money. The 2-platoon quarterback system doesn't really work in my book unless guys have different skill sets. Think about Florida in 2006 with Chris Leak and Tim Tebow. That's the way you use a 2 quarterback.
And you were winning. That was just
exactly.
like,
and
that was got to get in there.
You're hitting on all cylinders.
For sure.
In that situation, short yardage, third down, goal line, all that kind of stuff. But if it's even a little bit close, if it's even close at all, you got to play DJ Lagway, right? Just to showcase, hey, we're going to take our lumps now, and this is what can be if you keep me, Billy Napier, here in Gainesville.
Without a doubt. And Blaine, you know, we worked for a coached with a coach that played quarterback at a high level, and he was in the midst of a quarterback battle and told us that his head coach told him before the game, hey, you're going to be in there for the first 2 drives. Regardless of how good you play, we're going to let the other guy come in for the 3rd drive. I never understood that. And he said it gutted him. Like, I can go out there and play perfect and you're still going to pull me. To me, it's you put Graham out there, right, early, and if it's just okay or if it's below okay, then you throw Lagway out there. What would worry me is you throw Graham Mertz out there, you get the ball to 25, you drive it all the way down into the red zone, then you're like, hey, we got a package for DJ Lagway. Let's put him in there, and you throw the rhythm off and all that. If you're going to let him be in the drive, let him be in the whole drive and let it operate. Kind of what do you think?
Yeah, a couple things. First, I didn't get to say anything in the cold open.
Oh, my bad.
For everybody at 9/11, you will forever be remembered. You are all absolute heroes. On the quarterback, when it comes to Florida, the quarterback's not the problem. Graham Mertz not the problem. Okay, you won 6 games with Anthony Richardson. I don't want to hear quarterback problems, all right? What your problem is one, you couldn't stop the run against Miami, and that's going to be a problem, and your defense just looks bad. Graham Mertz didn't play a terrible game to me. That was a whole organization of a bad game, right? This is Billy grabbing a life raft. This is what it is. And if you're Florida, against this game against Texas A&M, you need to do what? You need to start good early. All right, that is not only key to your football team, but it's key to Gainesville in the swamp. Those fans need something positive early because if it gets bad, if you get down 10-0, they'll turn on you quicker than you can blink an eye, buddy. And at that point, it's going to be nothing but 100,000 people of a toxic environment, and you can't come back from that. In no way you can look at this Florida team from week 1 to last year and say Grant Mertz the problem. DJ Lagway is not going to – y'all beat a high school team last week. You beat Samford last week. What do you really know about DJ Lagway? He's a 5-star. He should look like against Samford. But I know more about Grant Mertz against good teams than I do DJ Lagway. So if you're putting all these eggs in one basket, I mean, you're in trouble.
Well, but again, you're looking at it from a rational coaching perspective. That's not what Billy Napier's having to deal with. Billy Napier is having to deal with donors, with people that aren't coaches, which are basically fans with money. That's what they are. And fan is short for fanatical for a reason. Not that all fans are irrational, but most of them are. And that's what makes the SEC and high-level college football great, is these high expectations. You are having to not only try and make the best coaching decision you possibly can, and Blaine, to your point, you're 100% correct. Florida's got way more problems than Graham Mertz. Did Graham Mertz play great against Miami? No, but he didn't play as bad as some other position groups played, including the offensive line, in my opinion. So you're having to appease the money people by giving hope while going against, maybe in your gut, or at least from what most people think that are involved in the sport, is the right move by playing Graham Mertz. And again, Blaine, you're spot on, that what needs to happen early is Florida needs to look a couple things. 1, explosive on offense. 2, organized. Because this Texas A&M team is not Miami. They do not have the guys at the skill position, the Restrepos, Colby, all those guys that Miami had. And even a dominant offensive line. A&M's offensive line is good. They've kind of had some setbacks with injuries. But this is a team that you don't have to worry about as much hitting you for the big play as long as you don't do stupid things like, I don't know, roughing the passer 2 times early to extend drives to help Texas A&M out, be misaligned, blow coverages, have stupid procedural penalties, or put 2 guys with the same number out there in punt return. Because, David, this game against A&M, when you really, really look at it, I don't think the difference in talent level on both these teams overall is huge. You can make the argument A&M is a better football team on the line of scrimmage on both sides, but I still think this is a winnable game for Florida if they play clean.
Well, and it should be a good football game. I'm really excited to watch this game. When you talk about Florida needing to be explosive on offense, they either need to do that or win. Yeah. Right? Like, if you win, no one cares. Notre Dame wasn't explosive when they beat Texas A&M. But if you're not going to win, then you need to look organized and look explosive. Blaine, I'm glad you brought up the point about Florida being unable to stop the run, particularly when they played Miami. I was thinking about on the other side, how does Texas A&M stop the run? They've given up 378 yards of rushing in 2 games, and Florida's rushed for over 300 yards in 2 games. Granted, one of those against,
Samford.
Samford. But, yeah, I mean, Texas A&M, 378 yards on the ground. That's not really where I thought we were going to be starting here the first 2 weeks for Texas A&M on defense. So I'm particularly interested in that. And if Florida can get that run game going, now all of a sudden, whoever's at quarterback, especially a young DJ Lagway, you can start to see things open up behind him, which is exactly what happened last week. Granted, I know you're playing Samford, but the kid's arm strength is through the roof.
He has
throwing the ball 58. I think it was a 58-yarder, like with no hitch at all, just from standing platform. So all the tools are there so that, hey, can everything else start to land in place for you?
Montrell Johnson's going to be huge in this game for Florida. And the more I look at this game, and if you've watched A&M play, I mean, I haven't been impressed with Connor Wegman the entire year. I wasn't impressed with him in the Samford game. I think he had 180 passing yards. This feels like one of those games. This feels like one of those games. Which team is not going to lose it? Right? Which team is not going to make the big mistake to lose the game? And when it comes to me, I would have to lean A&M from an experience standpoint from Connor Wegman because we don't know enough about DJ Lagway yet. Because both of these teams, and I agree with you, David, as all the talent that A&M has up front, they've been getting their ass whooped in the run.
And they can't do that with the way that team's put together.
They're averaging up getting like 180 yards a game on the ground. That can't happen if you're Texas A&M because with all the athletes and the skill guys they have, they're lacking on offense, explosive plays.
Yeah.
So this is going to be one of those games, whichever team makes the least mistakes, the least biggest mistakes, you'll probably see come out on top.
Well, on the A&M side, something I think that Mike Elko, basically said it, I'm paraphrasing him, is after the Notre Dame game, Connor Wegman didn't look settled in the pocket and he didn't trust that injury. Well, one of the best ways to settle a guy down in the pocket is to have a run game that takes a lot of pressure off him, slows down the defensive line, especially when you're running play action, and let him get into a rhythm. If Texas A&M is not able to run the ball, and it turns into Connor Wegman's going to have to be in 3rd and 7 and 3rd and 8, and I know they're throwing it, and you know they're throwing it, and Santa Claus knows they're throwing it, then he's going to be a sitting duck back there in that pocket, and I think that's where you're going to see him get sped up a little bit like he did against Notre Dame. Now, the difference in Connor Wegman getting sped up is he goes immediately to the check down. If you watch that game in Notre Dame, his eyes, the minute he felt a little bit uncomfortable, he would bail on the reads, which is one of his strengths. One of the reasons that David Pollack and some people were very high on him going in this year is his ability to read at a very fast clip and make the right decision within the first couple of reads. And then if he has to go to the check down or throw the ball away, he could do it. So the run game is obviously huge for both teams. It's huge for Florida to be able to open up other things, to let Wilson do what he does on the outside and give them some space on the perimeter. But if you're A&M, this is the second big game Connor Wegman has played since he got hurt. If you want to see him get settled, put him in a position to get settled by having a good run game, which in turn gives him time in the.
I haven't given up on Connor Wegman.
Oh, I
the
haven't
skill
either.
set is there for sure, not just through the air, but he escapes the pocket really well, moves within the pocket really well. That's another thing that sort of gets him out of trouble too, is his ability to run and pick up first down. So look, at some point you got to play big games though, right?
Yeah.
Like, and no better time to do that than against tougher competition. Right now that line's down to -3.5 Texas A&M. How are you guys feeling about that? And then the over/under 46.5. I still haven't decided how I feel about that.
To me, and I know both teams have struggled to stop the run. So you know that's been a big emphasis, and they have talented personnel. Like, we talked to Jim Nagy before the year. I talked to him at SEC Media Days in Dallas. He's like, look, don't be shocked if Florida ends up being a top 3 team, top 3 defensive line in the SEC. And we know with the way that Texas A&M has recruited and Mike Elko's ability to coach, that they should be good enough to stop the run. That's the most shocking part. Not that A&M hasn't been great at wide receiver, or that they don't have the Mike Evanses or some of the guys that we've seen in the past, or even Evan Stewart, who's now at Oregon. It's that they've struggled to stop the run. That's been the biggest shock, obviously, with Connor Wegman not trusting that injury and getting on flat footing, pun intended. So, I mean, when you look at the number, I like the under in this game right now. If I was going to bet it, I wouldn't take anybody -3.5. I would take, if anything, Florida +3.5, but I don't think you'd be crazy to buy that down to 2.5 and take A&M if you were going to take a side. But as far as the total, and think about it, if DJ Lagway does play, right, and he plays most of the snaps, I think Billy is going to try and protect him a little bit, especially if the run game's working, which is going to milk that clock. The problem you get into when it's 46 and 46.5 or whatever is, yes, you're protected from the 24-21 game, which is very possible with this game. I think we're going to get more field goals than that outside of one. But if anybody gets to 27, then you're in trouble. So I do lean the under right now.
Okay.
That's where I would go. I probably wouldn't take a side. But, David, if you had to pick one right now, where are you going?
On the over/under specifically?
On either side or total.
I'm still going back and forth on if I'm going to take the over/under in this game. I agree with you that 3.5, if anybody's getting 3.5 points, I'd probably take that. But right now I'm leaning Texas A&M just to win the football game, because if we're talking about 2 platoon quarterback systems,
it's tough.
I know how tough that is. Maybe they gain that advantage back by it being in the swamp. But right now I'll take Texas.
I would probably take Florida money line.
Okay.
And that's what Run reads is Texas A&M can't win on the road. You can't win on the road. I think it's 10 consecutive losses.
And that's not even just SEC. That's in general,
Like,
right?
you have to prove it to me on the road. You're in the likes of a group with Kent State and Akron and Temple. The amount of games you lost on the road consecutively. I'm sorry, and I haven't looked at the exact money line for Florida right now.
It's +150.
+150. If I'm hopping on a bet, I think the under's a good bet as well. But Texas A&M has to prove to me that they can win on the road, and they haven't done that yet. So if I had to bet this game, it'd be Florida money line.
I would not be shocked if that game got down to 2.5. If it got bet down to Florida -2.5, and that's where we landed on. Maybe even -1.5 by the time we get to game time. All right, the phone lines are going to open 2:45 p.m. Central, 1-855-236-3228. We want to hear from you. We do got Josh Pate coming on as well. We got Get Off My Lawn. Before we get to the chat, remember, hit that subscribe button. Appreciate all you guys being here. We just talked about betting lines. All right, and you can have all the sports books in the world. We encourage people to have multiple sports books, but there's one you definitely got to have, and that is Bet BetOnline. You need to go to betonline.ag. And if you use promo code BOOSTER, you get a 50% sign-up bonus of up to $250. They're going to have all the spreads, totals, all player props, all the things that you need, whether it's college football, whether it's NFL, whether it's Major League Baseball, whether it's some sport in Poland I don't even know about yet. They probably got it on there. But it's even more than sports. You can bet on politics, pretty much anything out there. It's a really easy website to navigate. The payout methods, they're very versatile. They're on time. It's easy. They can give it to you however you want it. That is betonline.ag. Add it to your sportsbook club. Use promo code BOOSTER, BOOSTER, to get that 50% sign-up bonus of up to $250. Bet online, where the options are endless, and so is the fun.
Yes, sir.
That's how we got the Bet Online Jumbotron back there. All right, let's get to the chat.
All right, Chad, hit that like, hit that subscribe button. If you donate, it's on topic. It will get read. Keep it moving today. Keep them feet chopping. We're going to a $20 donation from Stephen Diggs. What's up, Stephen? Watching the debate last night, I can see the same thing with A&M in Florida. Missed opportunities, fumbles, and interceptions. We will screw the point spread like the two hopefuls will screw America. God bless them and giggle.
Yeah, that was, not to stay on this too long. We got a bunch of football to talk. That was, the best way I could describe it is like, that was watching Iowa play yesterday. It's like what it was like to me. I got done, I was like, man, that was just like watching an Iowa game. Like, did anybody really win?
You talking about the debate?
It was just like a low-scoring, defensive, whatever. I agree with you 100%. Golly, thank God for football. I literally tweeted out, man. I was like, all right, now that's over, let's talk about something important. It's week 3 and Oregon hadn't played great yet. All right, let's get down to what matters most.
All right, let's go to the Gatorman _215. He says, Billy is cooked if he plays DJ Lagway. Grant Mertz was the only positive of our team last year. I think this could be a blowout, and Billy would be done.
Well, I think you're actually in the minority, but you're right. Graham Mertz, to me, has got to be the guy until he's not. I mean, we're talking about Auburn and Peyton Thorne. You know, Hugh Freeze talking about, well, he's got a very short leash. We're going to put him out there and see how he does. I think it's a similar situation for Graham Mertz, but it's not because Graham Mertz has played terrible since he's been out there. It's just sometimes when you're in this business and when you're where Billy's at and you've struggled against like 1-11 versus top 25 teams or whatever, and you are on your last breath to quote a Creed song, you got to mix it up and give some hope somewhere. So that's why I said I do not envy this position that Billy's in.
It's really similar to the situation Tom Brady found himself in Ann Arbor back in the day.
True.
Drew Henson coming in as the number 1 overall recruit. Granted, I don't think Coach Carr was, fighting for his job at that point like Billy Napier is. So this is exacerbated even more. But I understand the situation. I understand that if it's even close at all, you have to know that DJ Lagway is the future of the program, and you're trying to tie himself to that. But I'm not in the building, so I don't know. I mean, we saw DJ Lagway look great against Samford. That's awesome. But Graham Mertz may be the guy who gives you the best chance to win. Mm-hmm. And if that's the case, have we given up on this season?
Yeah. Well, it's like a desperate times call for desperate measures thing. Like, it's just, again, this is your last. Not to compare it to war, man, but this is your battle of the bulge, man. You got to send, this is the last offensive you got or you're cooked. So it's a tough situation.
All right, let's go to Malachi P. Malachi, what's up, man? He says, if Billy loses this game, how quick do they get that head coach from USF into Gainesville?
I think Golish is going to be a guy that needs to be up there. He's been in he was at Iowa State in the Big 12. He was at Tennessee. Kind of during their glow up. We know what he did for them, helped them offensively, and now he's at South Florida putting a really good product out there on the field, running with Bama for a while. Golish, and we talked about this in the offseason, he was one of the 3 guys we mentioned with Fran Brown, with a couple other guys that do not be shocked. If you see this guy in the SEC, when some of the movement starts happening, whether it be Florida, whether it be Arkansas, whether it be, even, God forbid, South Carolina and our buddy Shane up there, which I don't think is going to happen. But no, he's a name that he's going to get a very big job soon.
All right, let's go to Los _215. What's up, buddy? He says, how long does Wegman stay the starter if he keeps playing this bad? Sooner or later, you have to make a move.
God, you do, but this, again, every circumstance is different, right? I mean, Connor Wegman has shown you what, kind of the promise of what he can do. Not that he's been the greatest quarterback in the world, but you do know you have a guy that has proven that he can do it. It's just replicating and doing it, but he didn't have this injury before. So a lot of this to me about Connor Wegman is not can he do it, it's can he trust himself after this injury? Because like we said when it happened, and after we talked about with Mike Elko at his press conference, leg injury, whether it's your foot whether it's your ankle, whether it's your knee, leg stuff is very hard to trust again.
Yeah.
Like it's not the rehab that's the toughest. It's when you get out there having to trust it. And Wegman's not even a guy that uses his legs that much outside of extending the play from within the pocket. And then when he does have to bail, he's got enough witch in him to keep the play going. But you're not running Q power or power read or zone read with Connor Wegman. So this has obviously gotten to him, and you got to play big games to get over it. And maybe this is the one that gets him over it.
He looked good against McNeese. You know, I know that's not the competition that we're talking about here, but just in terms of like, hey, how has he bounced back from injury? 11 of 14. I think he threw for $125 and ran for another 40 yards, a couple touchdowns. And like, let's remember, Notre Dame's defense is really good. I know that they just lost. They just had a bad loss themselves, but I still think, man, if we're at a position where we're pulling Connor Wegman out,
yeah, it's not
like. Things are worse at Texas A&M than I was thinking this year.
Yeah, it would almost be like a Yips situation, like Chuck Knobloch at second base. Like you're throwing it into the third row to first. Like you got the Yips.
Which I've never dealt with an injury like that, so I don't know how much of it is psychological, you know, versus.
Well, it's like they say, 90% of the game is 100% mental.
I did hear
that way. All right, let's move on. We got another big one this weekend, David. Missouri and Boston College. When you look at this, what kind of? Yeah. This is a different matchup than we thought kind of going into the season. BC, there were some question marks. We know that nobody transferred out of Boston College. Bill O'Brien's a really good coach. And yes, Florida State's look bad, and they may take another L against Memphis this weekend. But this Boston College team, if Thomas Castellanos can just, paint inside the lines and not try and do too much and have any of those disastrous turnovers, that spread's pretty high for the team we think Boston College has.
This is a fun matchup, and it's even more fun now that Boston College has beaten Florida State. Bill O'Brien has told everyone, hey, don't forget about me. I took this head coaching job for a reason. Missouri, on the other side of this, there's so much that we know about Missouri. We know they had a great season a year ago. We know that they built on that roster in the offseason. It's sort of like a Lamborghini that's been able to go around the track a couple times and just show off what you got, but hasn't been in a real race yet.
Yep.
So far, Missouri's outscored Murray State and Buffalo 89-0. I've seen you go around the track. I want to see you in a real football game.
Is that a Murray State Racers reference pun, or did that just accidentally organically happen? Beautiful.
Can I tell you yes?
Yes.
Can I tell you yes? Here's one thing that's interesting. Boston College so far is Boston College outrushed Florida State 263-21.
You remember the spread in that game?
Wasn't it exactly?
It's about the
Was
same.
it exactly 17? You
same.
dirty dog with that dirty stash.
Yeah.
Outrushed them 263-21. And Duquesne, okay, they rushed for 306 against Duquesne, but it's hard to rush for 300.
Hey, they play football too.
Again, Missouri, I don't know. I mean, they gave up 114 rushing yards to Buffalo. That's kind of the only thing that I'm like, that's kind of a lot against Buffalo. But so far, 17 right now. 17 even is the spread, Jake. Over under 53.5.
Well, I think this thing's going to come down. I think it's going to get bet down the closer we get to the game. So I don't think you'd be crazy to go ahead and it was one of my early best bets yesterday. Yeah. Buying Boston College up to plus 17.5, which you could have got at minus 132 yesterday, which isn't a bad deal. Before I even get into like side and side, what I am looking forward to as just a football junkie, football quote unquote nerd, I guess you could say, is think about the two offensive minds we have in this game. The amount of motions and formations that we are going to get, and then stuff that is built off those motions and formations between Bill O'Brien and Eli Drinkwitz. This is going to be a masterclass in how can I find out what coverage you're in, because that's why you motion pretty much. Outside of the motion you brought up yesterday in the huddle up in the Texas game, which is a leverage motion. It's always a leverage motion, but that wasn't to find out, what you're in really. But I'm so interested to see how Bill O'Brien builds off what he did formationally and from a motion standpoint against Florida State in another big game against Missouri. Because if you go back and you watch the Buffalo game, or if you go back and watch, Duquesne or whatever, they kept it very vanilla, and they should, and they had success. Boston College wants to put you around up front. And then what Eli Drinkwitz is going to do with Luther Burden and these other weapons that he has behind Brady Cook, a guy that he trusts in the motion game. So that, number one, is going to be fun to watch. But the biggest question in this game, I think we know pretty much everything about Boston College that we can at this time. What we don't know about Missouri is how good that defense is overall. Now, that was the biggest question coming in. We trust Brady Cook. We trust Burden. We trust them offensively with what they return and then what Drinkowitz is able to do and Coach Peeler, the wide receivers coach and all those guys. It's defensively, where's Missouri at? And if you're a Missouri fan, this is what you wanted to see. You're going to know either way. And that's how I always want it. Good, bad, or indifferent. Same thing with Auburn and Cal. I wanted to know where Auburn was at. Now, we kind of got an idea where they're at. That doesn't mean you can't get better. But if I'm a Missouri fan, if we're going to do the things that we talked about in the offseason and elevate Missouri up to this point where it's not just a flash in the pan, once every 3 to 40 years we have a team that can win double-digit games. If Missouri is here to stay, and if they're a team that can actually do big things this year, Blaine, we're going to know pretty early, I think, against a Boston College offense that, again, don't get lulled to sleep that this is a heavy personnel, we're just going to run just a bunch of gap scheme, and we're going to keep it in the phone booth. You can do a lot with Thomas Castellanos. And again, if he is able to mitigate the disaster, the catastrophic turnovers, or when he gets creative, if he's like Ryan Stiles when he improvises, and it's smooth, and it looks like how it's supposed to be when you get creative, this Boston College team's a great test for this Missouri defense.
Yeah, a couple things I'm looking for here, and there's a couple things Boston College fans need to know. All right, you're not playing against DJU in this game.
No.
Brady Cook can do it.
Yeah.
And Luther's the best receiver in college football.
I agree with that.
If you're Missouri, the one thing I have to do in this game is stop the what. You got to stop the run. Castellanos got to beat you to the what? Through the air. And there's a sentence I'm about to say that I never thought I would say this year. If Boston College wins this game, you're going to have to start talking about this team as a playoff team.
Yeah.
I really do. If you go through their schedule, the only other ranked opponent they have on their schedule right now would be Louisville. And Bill O'Brien will get a big-time job if he keeps doing the way that he is doing.
Where's that one?
That game, I believe, is at home. So, and you have a what? You have an experienced quarterback, and you do what up front? You maul people. Everybody wants, go back and watch that Georgia Tech game. You need to watch what Boston College did to those guys up front, and those guys aren't a bunch of scrubs.
You mean the Florida State game?
The Florida State game. Boston College versus Florida State game. Go watch that game. Boston College killed them up front the entire game. And Missouri lost a lot on the defensive line. Trust me, I went to the Senior Bowl and saw those monsters running around. So we still need to see it from Missouri's defensive line. But this line right now, if you can get this up to 17.5, I don't know why you don't take it.
Yeah, I'm shocked it was that high when it came out. I wonder if there's a little bit of hesitance by the two twins. They have their ponytails tied under Caesar's Palace in Vegas that they asked to do these lines. If after watching Georgia Tech lose to Syracuse, if they're a little bit worried that maybe it was a little fool's gold with the way that Boston College beat up on Florida State. Now, I don't believe that. I don't think that, but that may be the reason that line is kind of where it is. But, Blaine, to your point, if Boston College is going to make I think Miami's winning the ACC.
I agree.
I think Miami would beat Boston College and probably beat them by double digits right now, and I think we'll probably feel that same way at the end of the year, barring some injury or something. Something happened. Mario not taking a knee or something. But if Boston College is 11-1, with their only loss to, let's say, an undefeated Miami in the ACC championship game, with that schedule, do you think they get in? Do you think they put a Boston College in? Say Notre Dame doesn't get in.
One game against Miami. How do you?
If you lost, well, it's we talked about the ACC and the Big 12. Like again,
if Boston College only loss was to Miami.
Was to Miami in the ACC championship game, but Tennessee is 10-2.
Yeah.
Like with that win over NC State. Like I'm telling you, this is what's going to make this fascinating at the end. Somebody is getting left at the dance. Somebody is. Now, is that an 11-1 team? That's worst case scenario, right? Probably going to be a 10-2 team.
Well, they would be 12-1.
That's right. They would be 12-1. That's true. So, again, man, it's like that's where having the softer kind of schedule helps you from the win numbers. But will that come into factor the strength of schedule or whatever? If it's a 10-2 team, versus or even an 11-1 team that didn't make the conference championship game versus a 12-1 team that lost the conference championship game. So that's what's going to make it interesting here at the end. Something else that's interesting is going to the game. We all know there's nothing like being at a live sporting event or a concert or really anything live. It's a lot more fun. Now that YouTube TV has multi-view, it makes it a little bit easier on us that have to cover it. But if you want to go to these games, you want to go to a concert, whatever, Game Time is who you need to use. What is Game Time? Well, it's a fast and easy way to get tickets online. And with their new feature, guys, really lock in here. Game Time Picks, getting tickets for your favorite live events just got that much easier because it filters out the fluff, to show you the best deals on great seats so you don't got to waste time searching through thousands of tickets. They really, really, consolidated the process, made it really, really easy. One of the best perks of their apps as well is you can save more money with Game Time picks as well, because they'll credit you 110% of the difference if you find tickets in the same section or row for less. So if you're going to the game, even up to an hour before the event, if you're looking for a ticket, don't run around and get tricked by scalpers and this, that, and the other. Go to the Game Time app. All right, you download it, you create an account, and use code BOOSTER, BOOSTER, for $20 off your first purchase. Again, create an account, redeem your code BOOSTER for $20 off. Download Game Time today. Super easy. Use the code. We're giving you free money on great tickets and great seats. Make sure you're in the game with Game Time. All right, we got Josh Pate coming up here in a minute. I do want to get the chat, and then we're going to get off my lawn.
All right, let's go to Killer Sack Solo. It says Missouri lost their whole defense and their starting running back. They're basically Tennessee from 2022.
I don't hate that comp.
Wow. That's
I really don't hate that comp.
It's kind of a high-level IQ comp right there.
It is now. Again, just because you lost guys doesn't mean you're going to be bad. We've got to see it with Missouri. It's not like they got a bunch of accountants running around on defense. So before you bury them just because they lost guys, we've seen people. Texas lost a lot of guys. Man, they sure look pretty good against Michigan. So there's no guarantees, especially in the transfer portal era. So don't bury them yet.
At least right now they've given up 0 points.
Yeah.
So
it's a great start.
2 weeks.
It's a great start.
Let's go to the BC GOAT. He says, fellas, how do we keep Bill O'Brien at Boston College? What number of wins does he have to get to leave?
Well, I'm not going to sit here and pretend like I know the inner workings and the monetary capabilities and really what Boston College is willing to spend on a coach. But I said this about Lane Kiffin. Sometimes when guys have had those big jobs, those huge brand name jobs, like, Lane with the Raiders and Tennessee and USC and all this, it's not really about the bigness of the place. It's about how you fit in that place and how comfortable you are. If I'm Bill O'Brien and I'm able to sit here and be comfortable at a place at Boston College, where if we're going to be honest, no disrespect, you win 8-9 games consistently in Boston College, you get a cool statue and probably like a free adoption pet from the shelter around there. So if I'm Bill O'Brien, do I really want the problems of, let's say something happens with Ryan Day at Ohio State, just like when I'm Lane sitting there in Oxford, I'm like Borat said, king of the castle. You've been to the nice beaches. Sometimes you just want to go stay at the lake, man. And I think Bill O'Brien, again, I don't know him personally, but he don't seem like a big city guy to me. I don't think he's going out there and
not with that,
hanging out in studio.
That right offer.
That's not a big.
That right offer comes along.
That's not a big city guy.
Bags are packed.
Well, I want to bring on a guy. He's not a big city guy either. Well, even though we do got kind of a qualm with what they just named as minor league baseball hometown team. Josh Pate from Late Kick. Josh, first off, what is up, my brother? And second off, how about the name? What is it? The Klingons or the Kling maggots or whatever? The Columbus what?
Shame. The Columbus shame. That's what it is. It's the classic example of the constituency not being listened to, and some focus group from like Des Moines or Seattle or wherever comes in and says, don't worry, simpletons, we know better than you. You are the Klingstones, and you're going to like it. But the thing about the focus is then they just leave.
They go home.
And they leave.
I don't want to hear. The Savannah went from the Savannah Sand Gnats to the Savannah Bananas. So
this is going to turn into a therapy session
from anybody else.
For minor league or alternative baseball.
The Savannah Bananas.
Mascots. I think they should have been the Columbuses. That'd have been tight. I hadn't heard anybody. The Columbi. It's 2024. Yeah, it's 2024. Everybody get along. Figure it out. Josh, speaking about figuring it out, Notre Dame coming off the highest of highs. Now you're in the lowest of lows. I've continued to say they got out-matured by Northern Illinois. That's what it looked like to me. Does an 11-1 Notre Dame get into the playoff with a loss to Northern Illinois? Or does it have to be such an extenuating circumstance of other teams falling apart at the end that you just have to put them up there? Or is Notre Dame pretty much just cooked, even if they go 11-1?
They're in. If they go 11-1, they're in. No one cares. Well, let me rephrase. A lot of people care. The committee does not care 3 months from now, because there'll be plenty of data points from history where so-and-so lost to an inferior team. But all you need them to be able to say about you is the team they are now is fill in the blank. And in this case, it would be playoff worthy. So I was talking to a buddy about that yesterday. He's a Notre Dame hater, which is fine. It's your constitutional right to be one. And he said, they got to be out, man. You can't let someone in. And he's right. In a 4-team era, that would be true. 12-team era, 11-1 Notre Dame would they would be in there, because here's the other thing. What we haven't seen is the collateral damage that's coming over the next few months. There are a whole bunch of teams in the top 10 right now that will have extremely dirty resumes coming up. And like Georgia, even for all we know, may be one of them. Bama will be one of them. Texas could lose a game. So when you start getting the live bullets of the season flying and then no resume looks sparkling anymore, and you're left there trying to find out who your 10 seed is on Selection Sunday, if there's an 11-1 Notre Dame, especially if the debate comes down to some 2-loss teams, they'd find their way to wiggle in there.
Yeah, there's some teams that could make the playoff despite their name, and then there's some teams that almost got to play themselves out of the playoff, and they're going to get every advantage possible. And we even heard, I forgot the name of the guy, it's one of the people that sit up in the ivory tower and make these decisions. They're like, what's really going to dictate who makes the playoff? He's like, well, what teams play well. And then at the end, he was like, and ticket sales. And like,
you talking about Sauron?
Yeah, Sauron. That's who it was. Never forget, this is a billion-dollar industry. They want big name brands in there. That's just how it is.
Yeah. Speaking about big name brands, Josh, Alabama. For the second straight year, South Florida has not just been competitive, but had a chance to win the football game late in the fourth. Then all of a sudden, Alabama reels off 4 straight touchdowns. It kind of looks like a blowout when you just look at the box score. But now Alabama's going to go on the road, play Wisconsin. That's kind of an interesting matchup. I saw they were coming in at number 4 in the week 3 of the JP poll there. How are you feeling right now, 2 games into the Kalen DeBoer era for Alabama?
So shaky, definitely from last week's performance. Now, we see every year some team plays like garbage against, I'm going to say, inferior competition. USF's a decent team. Alex Goldge does a good job. But we see every year there'll be some team that just sleepwalks their way through a game. And then some head coach 2 months down the road says, in retrospect, that was good for us. So who knows? Maybe that's Alabama. If it is Alabama, they'll smoke Wisconsin this week. If, all caps, if. They should be able to run the ball at will against them. Wisconsin should not be able to play light boxed against them. Bama's the best in the country at popping you over the top when someone has to dedicate extra help. So all that stuff should be there. I think Alabama may have faced better athletes last week, candidly, than they'll face this week with Wisconsin.
Agree with that.
I got no clue. I have no clue what Wisconsin's offensive identity is. And that's year 2 that we're saying that. So that's not a good thing. So if Bama's a real national title contender, they will handedly take care of business this week. And if it's a struggle, not the end of the world, but then we start realizing we're seeing those tiers in the top 10 start to form.
Yeah. Well, and I do want to throw this in here, Josh, because this is something we talked about in our Wisconsin-Alabama preview. Nobody is doubting the athletes that Alabama has. Alabama still has one of the best rosters in college football. I don't think they have the best, but when you watch them run around, you're like, yeah, that looks like Alabama. But the disorganization and the sloppiness, and you got to give USF all the credit in the world, and I think the team speed from South Florida shocked Alabama a little bit, because a lot of that game, South Florida, they mixed it up. Todd Orlando did a great job with his pressures, but they were playing man behind it. They would sit in man free a lot, put that post-high safety a little bit deeper, almost to where he didn't even have to drop, and they were able to run with these guys and be able to make plays in space. But when you look at this Alabama team is one of those that if they clean it up, can really be a damn good football team. And it's not like they had a lacrosse player at quarterback like they did last year when they went down to play South Florida. So if it is Alabama, like you say, I think they roll Wisconsin. I don't trust Tyler Van Dyke. I trust Dick Van Dyke more than him. But
I do too.
Yeah, you do. You love you some DVD.
Oh, yeah, I do. Josh, what's up, buddy? Big question I want to know. What are you benching these days? And it's probably more to me, and I'm upset. And 2, you think Lane Kiffin would go to Florida?
In a heartbeat. Lane Kiffin would walk to Florida if they would give him the job. This is not a debate. Look, I've got Ole Miss people in my very close social circle, and they fight me on this. They're like, what can you do at Florida that you can't do at Ole Miss? Win a national championship is what you can do there. And you can consistently be a player there. Contrary to what people believe about Ole Miss, that is still a build multiple years to a peak kind of program, a window program, as I call them. They're not sustained year in and year out. This is not that caliber of program. Florida can be. Now, and I'll get back to the bench press question in a second.
He's not going to skip that one.
So I was I was talking to, so I've talked to a couple of big agents in that world, and I was also down at Florida last week, talked to a couple of people, and it shocked me as people talk about Napier's job security and whatnot, and if that job comes open. It shocks me that there are some fairly well-known names in the coaching circles who have asked their representation, convince me that the University of Florida is the caliber of job that a Texas or a Georgia or a Alabama is. Because if I go down there, they're going to expect me to compete against them. I want you to sell me that this is that kind of job. And I don't know I know you guys all lived through the era just like I did, where Steve Spurrier did what he did, but Urban Meyer did what he did. And it's multiple times under multiple different coaches been a machine, and could very well be again. So it almost surprised me. I was a little taken aback by that, because I'll tell you what they had done. They had fallen behind the arms race a little bit in the mid-20 teens, and they're not that anymore. They have totally rebuilt and replenished themselves from that standpoint. It's no different than Texas A&M. It's a ready-made winner. It just takes the right hire. And Napier's got his job. For all I know, he wins Saturday and he keeps it. I'm just saying, if it were to come open, Kiffin is on the first thing smoking to Gainesville if he gets the offer. As for the bench max, I got no clue, man. I've not maxed on bench in years.
You look great.
But if we do want to go in there and we want to do the combine workout, like the 225 rep thing,
okay,
I could do that.
Okay.
At your local YMCA, I could do that.
We should. I'll get a membership there pretty quick.
Blaine's got a membership to every gym. You should see him at Planet Fitness. I do want to say, Josh, we actually disagree here, and that's great. I think Lane. First off, this has got the Jimmy Sexton special written all over it. All over it. If he was my agent, I'd be telling him, hey, tell Florida I'm interested. You know what? Tell everybody you know that I'm interested, because that's going to... Ole Miss got money. Like, Ole Miss has got, like, old money. So I'm going to drive that price up. My thing for Lane is this, and we were talking about this with Bill O'Brien. I think you heard us at the beginning. I actually think it would take a lot for Lane to leave for a couple reasons. You've had the big brand jobs before, and those went down in flaming disasters at the end. Remember how it went down at USC? Tennessee, they fired him on the tarmac. At Ole Miss right now, I think there's more potential at Florida. That's not the argument. I agree with you 100%. But now you're at Ole Miss, and you have gotten Ole Miss. One, you can act how you want to on social media. You're the king of the city. You are the golden goose, whatever you want to call it. You can do it however you want. You've got the money, the NIL, and you're now showing people, and Ole Miss is becoming a sexier brand, right? Nothing is cooler in fashion. They're like, oh, why are people wearing stuff they were wearing in the 80s? Well, that's because it's cyclical. Maybe this is Ole Miss's turn in the cycle in the SEC to show, hey, man, we won 11 games last year. Now we're looking like we're going to be a playoff team and we can make a run. You can come to Ole Miss and win big. It just seems so ready-built for Lane, and I think he's kind of over it. But in the coaching world, you never know what's going to happen. I just think this Ole Miss job is looking sexier and sexier and sexier, not just because of that they're winning and it's going good, but Lane can do it his way. It's a Burger King situation.
Oh, you're describing logic I agree with. I don't think Lane Kiffin feels that way. I think he would have taken LSU. I think the way the Auburn opening was reported was badly misreported, and I think he'd take the Florida job if it were offered. But you're describing Gus Malzahn at UCF. That's what you're describing. Mm-hmm. A guy who's had the bigger job, a guy who's got a really good situation right now, and all of a sudden UCF's a Power 4 team until Arkansas comes open. And then we find out how firmly Gus Malzahn's roots are planted in Orlando. And then think about the chain reaction that sets off, because Petrino. UCF's profile as a job is infinitely better than it was 5 years ago.
Oh, that's 100% true.
Up. Yeah.
Josh, I want to ask you about Clemson quickly. I mean, Clemson really fought hard in that first half against Georgia. Wheels kind of came off in the second half. Then it was 66-20 over Appalachian State. App State's not a program you just beat by 46
Georgia's
points.
Good.
Man. How are you feeling right now? I mean, does that just say like Georgia is world beaters, or are we feeling better about Clemson as the season's going to go on here?
First thing I thought when I saw Clemson doing what they were doing, and they had like 50. They had 50 plus at the half.
Josh, they rolled them up. They scored on like the first 5 drives. I don't think Cade missed a pass.
Could have beat them by 90.
Yeah. First thing I thought was Georgia did what to them 7 days ago? So there may very well be, we talked about a gap. There may be a gap between 1 and 2. Now, the reason I find it hard to just write that in ink is because I saw Texas up close last week. Yeah. So I don't know that there's a team that I think is significantly better than that Texas team. I'm wondering, like, if we're talking tier one, is it one team deep? Is it two teams deep? Ohio State's not played anything with a pulse yet. Is it three teams deep? Is there a separation before we talk about, like, the Bamas? What's going to happen with Oregon? Or Oregon, if I were to put Minnesota uniforms on Oregon, that would track. You would think, yeah, that looks like what Minnesota would do. Struggle with the Idaho teams the first 2 weeks. So there's a lot still to figure out about those teams.
No, I think it's Georgia and Texas right now at the top. I don't know how you can't think that.
Josh, what has been your biggest surprise team this year so far?
Easily USC. USC's the story of college football this year to me. I mean, we could have sat here for, the last 10 years, and we could have talked about how great an offensive mind Lincoln Riley is. Every quarterback's a Heisman contender or a winner, and we would have always said the same thing, and that would have been, imagine if he ever has a defense. And then one of us would have said, yeah, but the trade-off for this style of ball is you probably won't ever be good defensively. So when he went and made all these hires, they were great. He made all the right moves. I doubted, especially in the immediacy, I doubted Downtown Lynn or anyone else, whether they could come over like a 5-star chef walking in a kitchen with no ingredients. Like, what's he really going to cook right off the bat? Well, it turns out some of the Southern Cal folks who chirped at me about how underrated their defensive roster was, they may have been right. And I talked to a couple of NFL scouts that passed through LA during fall camp, and their message in unison was USC's got better defensive personnel than folks realize. Well, sure enough, there they are, week one, holding LSU to 20. And then they pitched a shutout last week. Guys, if USC is playing defense, they're a contender to win any game they play. This is not something that needs to take 2 or 3 years. Now, if they were right, and I was somewhat wrong about how long it would take to rebuild, because remember, Lincoln didn't just say, I'm hiring a new coordinator. He said, I'm overhauling the philosophy of the way I run this program, top to bottom, soup to nuts. If he was serious about that, and then he's accomplished it that quickly, and they've really got the defensive players to do that. They play Michigan next week.
Yeah, they get a bye too.
They don't play Ohio State regular season. They don't play Oregon regular season. So all of a sudden, maybe they're in Indianapolis at the end of the year.
Well, it's think about the world we live in right now. Like we're just think about it. You hear this in politics all the time. They're like, imagine where we were 50 days ago to where we're at now. We're to the point of saying, is USC going to go out physical Michigan? Not beat Michigan, but out physical Michigan. Because a lot of guys know scheme. Alex Grinch knows scheme. He knows how to get guys. It's not like he doesn't know what he's doing or just like doesn't know how many players need to be on the field. Scheme is one thing. Identity and being able to go out there and play physical and adopt that, that's the trick. That's what shocked me about USC. Not that they lined up right, not that they knew who to cover. It's they were coming downhill and forcing the action on you. And that is something that's within. That is, they have not had that because it's been an offensive mentality of, let's just see if we can bend but don't break. Screw bend but don't break. I'm going to try and bend you and then break your ass.
That's what USC was 20 years ago.
So that's what I remember with old USC, with Palomalu and Cushing and all these guys. They were trying to kill you.
So, Josh, one quick follow-up. You were in the big house for the Texas game, right?
Yep.
I'm sorry that we couldn't meet up for that one. Hopefully we can next time. But yeah, like you said, USC is going to come to Michigan a week after they have a bye. I mean, based off everything you saw against Michigan and Texas, I mean, Lincoln Riley's every bit the play caller that Steve Sarkisian is. How do you feel that Michigan USC is going to go?
The one thing that I don't think is as glaring, Texas had such a size and physicality and depth disparity advantage over Michigan. Just call it what it is. To Texas folks, talking to them before that game, they wanted the style of game Michigan normally wants. They wanted to go in there and pick a fight and then win the fight. And they did, emphatically. I don't know that USC is exactly that, but USC can win a couple of different ways here as well. I'm very interested in an off-the-radar game, see how you guys do Saturday against Arkansas State, because it should be the kind of game that Michigan takes care of business in. It should be the kind of game you get a lot of things right. This is not a team that's miles and miles and miles away. They are inferior to the top-level teams athletically this year, unlike last year. But that doesn't mean you can't find ways to win. But what you can't do is you can't play from behind. That 95% of Michigan snaps last year were played with the lead. And immediately they fall behind against Texas. They're already playing with an offense that's being run by the quarterback they didn't think was going to win the job. And the one they did think was going to win, it's on the sidelines coming in as a running back, basically. So they're still figuring stuff out. It looks like USC has figured stuff out. And Lincoln Riley, I mean, you talk about a guy that won't hesitate to hang a crooked number if he can.
No.
Think about the perception win that is. Sark didn't need it nearly as bad as Lincoln Riley needs it.
True.
Yeah, well, Lincoln Riley is just Lane Kiffin, but he just won't tell you you're fat. That's the difference. That's really the difference. All right, one quickly, and then I know Josh got to roll.
All right, let's go to a $5 donation from Daniel Johnson. Appreciate it, Danny. Says, if South Carolina defense looks as it did against Kentucky and the offense take a step, then what's the narrative going to be going forward about South Carolina?
Okay, the more fun question is, what's the narrative about LSU if they lose that game? But I'm willing to answer the question. I don't think they will. That's what I've got to see happen. Yeah. You talk about an LSU team now, they're top 6 in the country in pressure rate allowed offensively. So this is a far cry from Kentucky. Kentucky was a vulnerability against that edge rusher and against the pass rush period. LSU should not be victimized to that degree. Now, the trade-off is LSU probably not going to be able to run the ball all that well because Emory's out. And even before that, they weren't running the ball all that well. So they're going to have to put the ball in the air. It could be horrible conditions weather-wise over there. So it makes perfect sense to me that even if that's not the glaring mismatch that it was for South Carolina against Kentucky, they still find a way, special teams, sloppy play, turnovers to win a game. If they do, well, the narrative is, wow, Shane Beamer's won a couple of big games back-to-back he wasn't favored in. The flip side of that coin is LSU's 1-2, and they've still got like half a dozen more losable games to come. That right there is toxic.
The call-in shows if LSU loses to South Carolina.
Cut the lines.
It is going to be.
Get the popcorn, buddy.
Yeah, like you put the children and
get the popcorn.
Everybody to bed.
Nah, leave them up. They need to hear.
Yeah, they need to learn the way out there.
Let the boy watch.
Let the boy listen.
All right, hey Josh, as usual, buddy. Thanks so much for joining us. It's a great time of year. If people don't know, which if you're watching this show and you don't know Josh's show, then, congrats. Welcome to Planet Earth. Where they can find you.
Josh Pate's College Football Show.
There it is.
Search it anywhere and it'll pop up. And if it doesn't pop up at that point, I don't deserve to be watched because that's the easiest title imaginable.
It is. It's like just sort of like grilled chicken. Like, it's going to pop up when you put it up there. But Josh, thanks so much, buddy. Maybe we can do that. Josh Pate, best in the business. All right. We need to get off my lawn. The phone lines are open. I know that. All right. But first, we need people to be responsible out there.
Be responsible.
Especially the men. All right. That's what separates really the men from the boys is responsibility. All right. And I'm not just talking about the gridiron. I'm not talking about football. We're talking about in life. Because, guys, look, let's play a game. Let's be honest.
Be honest with them, son.
You want me to be honest with them?
Come on.
We don't get all the vitamins we need. I don't even know where half the vitamins are, right? I just try and eat enough protein and not drink too much alcohol. That's kind of what I do. But if you want to make sure and take care of it, ladies out there, if you're trying to get your man the vitamins and he just won't do it, here's an easy way. All you got to do is get Responsible Man. All right, what is it? It's a multivitamin that's packed with 33 key ingredients that support your immune system. They sharpen your brain and keep your heart and muscle strong. It's all the ingredients you need to be able to go do the things you need to be responsible. All right, and right now, you can take advantage of Responsible Man's fall sale. You get 30% off your order plus an additional $9 off your first order. Just head over to responsibleman.com or use code BOOSTER at checkout. This deal will not last long, and they don't smell bad. It doesn't smell like those vitamins that they just dug up out of the earth and found in some old shoe on the bottom of a ship. All right, they got a nice minty kind of flair to them. So remember, gentlemen, strong America needs strong men. Strong men start Responsible Man. Go to responsibleman.com, sourced right here in the USA. Man. Use that code BOOSTER, 30% off, plus $9 off your order. All right, it's Wednesday, David.
Let's do it.
And we know there's a lawn that needs getting off of.
Let's do it.
America. All right.
I'm ready.
I think we all know. All right, where this is going.
Huge.
Huh?
All 6'7".
Thank you.
Who's G'ing off your L today?
Oh, boy. Everyone involved with this Tyreek Hill situation needs to get off my lawn. By now, most everyone has seen the viral video of Dolphins wide receiver Tyreek Hill getting pinned to the pavement before last Sunday's game. And every aspect of this is frustrating. Let's start from the beginning. Allegedly, Tyreek was driving his McLaren 60 miles per hour in a 45 zone. If that's true, a traffic stop is warranted. It's 15 miles per hour over in a pedestrian zone with kids walking around. Tyreek then followed that infraction up by refusing to roll down his tinted window when instructed to do so, which makes a bad situation even worse because the cops can't see you. They have no idea if they are in danger. Now, let's get to these police officers. Play that clip of Tyreek getting dragged out of his car. Look at this over the top. This is over the top aggression when dealing with a speeding violation. Granted, I've never been a police officer, but the level of insubordination from Tyreek does not seem to justify this use of force. Why is it so difficult in our society these days for us to just look at a particular situation and place blame everywhere that it's deserving? If you defend police officers blindly in every circumstance just because you are pro-law enforcement, then that isn't helpful. If you're perpetuating the narrative that Tyreek Hill is a blameless victim here, despite speeding, then refusing to cooperate, then that isn't helpful. Most of our problems could be solved with a touch of common sense. And I don't understand how we are so lacking in that area. But I do understand this. After watching Scotty Scheffler get arrested, only to shoot 66 that same day, and then Tyreek Hill get detained, only to catch for 130 yards and a touchdown, best believe the next time a superstar athlete gets arrested on his way to the arena, I'm taking every dollar I have and I'm betting for them to ball out. Until then, everyone involved in this situation needs to get off my lawn.
It's perfect. It's just the truth.
Am I wrong?
No.
I want to find out if any of those cops were playing against Tyreek Hill in fantasy.
Yeah, I need to see the fantasy. I need to see the fantasy numbers.
That's interesting.
Like you said, look, but I think both parties are in the wrong, and that can exist. Like, we just, again, got to look at it through the prism of each side can make a mistake. It's not like this side's the big bad wolf and this person's totally innocent. Sometimes that happens. But in this situation, dude, how you handle the police, like, you got to be smarter than that.
Yeah.
You're Tyreek Hill.
You
like,
think
you know
that
what
we just
would've been
teach that in
cool?
school at
You know
some
what would have been cool? If he'd have rolled down the window and been like, guys, I'm Tyreek Hill. If you think I was going fast now, you're lucky I wasn't running. Everybody would have laughed. It'd have been like, oh, hey, man, this, that, and the other. Like, but what the police are doing way too much, man. Like, what are you trying to prove, man? Like, are you mad he's in that car? Like, I don't know what it was, but both sides, I think we're in the wrong in some.
I will say this, just from a societal standpoint, this body cam footage that every officer has to wear now, I mean, that's a net
amazing.
good.
Yeah.
That's a net good for our society.
It's amazing.
And it's amazing. You saw, like, years ago, police officers didn't want to wear this. And then after the last 5-8 years, everything you've seen, now they're the ones who are saying, no, I want evidence.
Transparency,
I want
man.
the body
Good.
cam
If I didn't do anything, I'm going to show you I didn't do anything.
Yeah, man, come on. Let's be human beings to each other.
Yeah,
you know?
again, 100%. All right, speaking of human beings, we got some human beings on the phone lines.
All right, you want a caller? Let's get to a caller. Let's go to Cody in Texas. Cody, talk to us. Cody.
Come on, Cody.
Cody, I believe.
Come on, Cody.
I will not hang up this phone,
Don't
Cody.
do this.
Cody.
I can't hear him. There he is. Cody, talk again. There you go. What up, Cody?
There we go.
What's up, man?
Sorry, a little cell phone lag. First off, I want to say go Gators.
Okay.
All right.
However, listen to y'all a little bit in the beginning. Missed some of what y'all were saying about Grant Burns versus DJ Lagway. I kind of think Billy needs to start DJ. And my logic for that is we have a very bad offensive line. They can't protect air, not to quote Jake. But two, that being said, Graham, I love the guy. He's an incredible Gator, and I'm so appreciative of what he's done. But he struggles with what? The deep ball. I know Lagway played against high school competition last week, but he showed that he could hit that deep ball. And I think we have a better chance, at least a better opportunity to show that all fun and guns Florida-style offense. I know Billy doesn't run that, but with Florida Gators, they want to see that deep ball happen. And truth be told, I think that's Billy's best opportunity. What do y'all thought? Yeah,
Cody, first off, buddy, thanks for the call. There's ways that you can slice it and find positives and negatives, right? Like it's. I don't think there's 100% wrong way to go about it. The problem is, if you can't protect, I don't know if the great answer is to throw in a brand new quarterback that hasn't played a lot in this situation. Now, I know what your thinking is, and you're not wrong here, that he can wiggle out of plays more, right? He can create more, but there are going to be times where he has to be able to try and sit in the pocket and at least be able to anticipate and get the ball out early, or if there's pressure and they bring it, throw the hot. If there's pressure and they bluff it, be able to go through your reads and not panic. You can't, there's ways to mitigate it with Graham, right? You can sprint out, you can go max protect, but then you're having to cut some of the edges off. If I keep a tight end to protect, that's one guy out of the route running. That's one less guy they got to cover. Same thing if I keep the running back in there as well. Now 2 guys are out. instead of being able to hit the defense in different places. So there's positives on both sides. That's the bigger risk. But, sometimes when you go to the roulette table, man, you got to put it on green, right? So if you're Billy at this point, it's a tough situation. I can see what you're thinking, but that's why I think you give Graham 3 drives. You give him 3 drives, you see how it looks, because you never know. 1 drive, that's tough. 2 drives, could go good the first one, go bad the second one. 3 drives, I've given you enough, but I can see where you're coming from.
Well, you're not playing Miami this week.
Yeah.
All right? You're playing Texas A&M. And you go back and look at that Miami game, you can look at Montrell Johnson, had over 100 yards. It's about basically off of 1 play. Okay? You can run against this A&M football team. It's been proven in multiple weeks. And what's the best antidote for a quarterback?
Run game.
The run game. All right. And if you can have that, now guys just can't pin their ears back and come get you. And that's where I believe in Graham Mertz. In the play action, in the accuracy, being able to throw the seam shots. Grant Mertz was y'all's savior last year, dog. Savior. And he had one bad game, and now everybody's throwing this kid to the wolves. So you're not playing Miami. This is an A&M defense that is acceptable to the run. And if I'm Montrell Johnson, I'm Billy Napier, I am running the ball 30-plus times in this game.
I don't hate that, Blaine. Last thing I'll say, again, Mertz struggled with that deep ball a little bit. Liveway showed that he has the opportunity. But you made the point. This is kind of like roulette. There's a high risk-reward situation here. To quote Billy Napier, scared money don't make money. If you really want to show that we could do some big things, throw them in there.
Look.
After the 3rd drive, whatever. But at the same time, like I say, hey, roll the dice, see what you got.
Yeah. Well, Cody, imagine the conversation that we just had is going to be pretty similar to the one that's been taking place in Florida's Fieldhouse ever since that Miami game,
but
right? And even before the Sanford.
If the proposition is, man, look, I got this highly rated freshman quarterback, DJ Lagway. He's the future. We're going to do special things together. And then you throw him out there and he has to play Texas and Georgia and Ole Miss and LSU. And then he underperforms in those games. Maybe it has the opposite effect that it's like, man, he wasn't the savior, which would be unfair to him too.
Yeah.
Right? So that's what's really going to be interesting because you're not playing any more Sanfords the rest of the season.
No, that was y'all's one.
That was the one you could throw for 480 against.
Yeah, now y'all got Blaze, Laser, Taser, and Blazer.
Appreciate it, Cody. Thank you, man. Let's go to Joshua in Knoxville, Tennessee. Joshua, what's up?
Hey, how's it going?
What's up, Josh?
One, the Gators suck. It doesn't matter who they start. They're not making a bowl game this year.
I love sports.
And but my main question for y'all is, what if Georgia goes 12-0, and then you have 4 other SEC teams who go 11-1 between Tennessee, Texas, Ole Miss, and Mizzou?
Is that possible?
It could happen.
Bama. Yes.
Yeah.
Does a 10-2 Bama with losses to Georgia and Tennessee get left out?
Yes.
Is Saban the coach? I think, again, this will harken back to what, we talked about for the season. What does Notre Dame do? Like, Notre Dame is the fly in the ointment. Like, we know we're getting a group of 5 team in there, regardless of what happens. Like, a group of 5 team is getting in there. Notre Dame can be that other at large and not like Notre Dame's a spoiler. They're one of the biggest brands in the sport. But, like, if Notre Dame is what if they're in a situation where Bama's 10-2 with that, and Notre Dame is 11-1 with a loss to Northern Illinois? Like, that's the situation they don't want to be in, where you got 2 big brands going against each other. They would love to put Notre Dame in over, a mid-level brand. Like, they wouldn't probably blink twice, like we were talking with Josh Pate. But if it comes down to Bama and Notre Dame, and you got to tell one of them no, that's
when you need Nick Saban.
In that scenario,
that's when you need Nick Saban.
In that scenario, who's even playing in the SEC championship, Joshua?
It would, I think, come down to either Texas or Tennessee, depending on their games.
Well, it's who didn't play Georgia
and their games versus Oklahoma.
Well, it's who didn't play Georgia out of those 4.
Games.
Missouri.
Yeah, so if Mizzou was 11-1 and the tiebreaker would be head-to-head, right? You say, all right, well, they're all equal. The difference is they all lost to Georgia because Georgia's undefeated.
In this situation, Tennessee would have the win over Bama, whereas Mizzou would have a loss to Bama.
Yeah, okay.
Because Missouri at least does play Bama the week after they play Auburn.
Woo! Man, Joshua, that's
a good one, Joshua.
That is DEFCON 1 for the committee right there.
I do think the committee would maybe take the opportunity with the Notre Dame situation to leave them out and say that they need to join a conference.
Well,
you can't not be in a conference and lose to Northern Illinois and make the playoffs.
Exactly.
Yeah.
You can't.
That's where that Northern Illinois loss is bad.
Quit trying to make fetch work, Gretchen.
If that's the reason they leave him out, that's more understandable. If it's because Notre Dame has an NBC contract and they don't have the ESPN contract, that's where there's going to be a lot of conflicts of interest.
You want to talk about high level talks? Whew.
High level, private
highest
room,
level,
fancy cigars.
If they put Bama in, they would have 6 SEC teams in.
Well, then everything's right with the world.
Hey, great call, man.
You're not wrong.
Joshua from Knoxville agrees.
Oh, that's awesome. All right, let's go to Spencer in Fresno. Spencer, what's up, man?
Hey, guys.
What's up, man?
Glad to be on. Time caller. I wanted to talk about the Florida State-Memphis game that's coming up.
Please do.
Okay, so here's my thoughts on it. I think Memphis is probably going to beat Florida State because I don't trust DJU at all. I just flatly don't trust him. He looks like a guy who is just scared to throw. For whatever reason, he's like the pitcher who's got the yips. He just something isn't clicking in his head. And so Florida State's probably going to start off 0-3. And if they keep him, they're probably maybe a 3 or 4 win team, which isn't going to be good. And for Memphis, from the Memphis side, that game was supposed to be their big, like, we are Memphis football. We're one of the best G5 teams. If their best win is against a terrible Florida State team, their only other high-profile game would be against Tulane at the end of the season. And I don't think that's a big enough, like, national brand Tulane that would get the committee's attention enough or look good enough in the committee side. So I don't think Memphis, even though they're probably going to be a really good team, would get into the playoff over, say, a Boise State, even though...
Well, here's Spencer. And I got to give credit to David for this. David brought this up before the year because we were talking about Liberty had like the 133rd worst schedule in college football last year. And the way it works, they went undefeated and they would have gotten that group of 5 bid, even though their schedule wasn't that good because they went undefeated. I see what you're saying. And you know what? Is Boise State probably a better team than Memphis if it happens like that? That's very, very possible. But here's what I think would happen. If Memphis, and they still got to play, I think, USF and some of these other teams on there that, are going to, and we got to see what Tulane does against Oklahoma this weekend. But if Memphis goes undefeated and Liberty goes undefeated and Boise State goes 11-1, I think we're going to see a repeat of what would have happened last year. It would come down to Liberty and Memphis because they're undefeated. And as bad as Florida State is, take them off. Memphis' schedule is still way better than Liberty's. My only qualm, and again, I got Memphis making the playoff. My only worry in this Memphis-Florida State game is we have watched Florida State get beat up front by Georgia Tech and Boston College. Where is Memphis the best at? At the skill position.
And through the air.
Right? And through the air. Mm-hmm. So if Florida State is able to have some semblance of being better up front because it's Memphis as opposed to what we saw in Georgia Tech and Boston College, and again, no offense to Memphis, I think DJU could have more time to throw, which would be better for him, and I think guys will be a little bit more open, whether it's Benson, Portier, those guys like that. I'm a little bit more worried about that. Not that I don't think Memphis can win. I think Memphis, what are they, +7 right now? Something like that?
That's 6.5.
Like, I think it's a great bet at Memphis +7.5. It's just, can they win up front the way those teams did before? But if they go undefeated, now that Boise State has lost, I think Memphis gets in over an undefeated Liberty.
And the biggest thing I heard out of that was Florida State could be a 3 or 4 win football team.
That's just
you look at this schedule, and I didn't really believe you when you said it. Memphis, not a walk in the park. Trust me, as an Auburn fan, you play Cal at home, not a walk in the park. At SMU, they look bad, not an easy win. Clemson at home,
Loss.
At Duke, at Miami, UNC at home, at Notre Dame, Charleston Southern home, and you end the year with Florida.
Shoot, Spencer, you may be right, dude. You talk about a total flip. 15-0 or 14-0, whatever, to 3-9. Ugh.
Yeah, especially if they leave DJU out there, he's like a pitcher with the yips. Like, he just doesn't have the command necessary.
Yeah.
And on Memphis schedule-wise, if Boise State goes, say, undefeated the rest of the year, that would mean that Boise State has wins over Washington State and Oregon State also.
And Spencer, I'm with you. But if we look at historically what happened last year, like that, Liberty would have gotten in over teams that had one bad loss in the group of 5. So if they're going to stick to doing that, and 12-0 is looked at, 12-0 with the weak schedule is still valued more than 11-1 with a good schedule and a really, really good loss. It's going to be, we don't know yet with the 12-team playoffs. So, Spencer, we're going to keep an eye on it, but it's a great point.
Great call,
man. All right, let's keep it moving. Let's go to Tim in California. Tim, what's up?
Hey, boys, how are we doing today?
What's up, man?
Tim? Hey, listen to you with my stepdaughter, Rylan. Say hi.
Hello.
Hey, Rylan.
What's up?
And anyway, I wanted to call in. I want to thank Jake for your motivational speech. My junior golf teams that I had called in a couple weeks ago. One finished tied for third in Northern California, and one finished tied or second place in all of Northern California. So
hey, congratulations on that. I'll make it even better next time. Y'all will win it. I just couldn't really cuss.
Yeah, don't be surprised if Jake holds up his phone and asks you for a 15% tip.
Yeah, you ever seen Cameo? No, I'm just kidding.
Hey, I know you guys had it up on your thing yesterday, but never talked about it. I wanted to hear what your thoughts on Monday Night Football was.
Man, yeah, it's just, when football season gets here, it's hard to fit it all in an hour and a half. You know, Aaron, you know, there were some times they looked rusty. I thought both teams, it wasn't as tight as I expected it. Now, I did take the 49ers -2.5. But to me, I think it's going to take a little bit of time for this Jets offense in game to get used to Aaron Rodgers. I still think those are two teams that can win the Super Bowl. I'm with Blaine. I still think the Jets.
The biggest worry to me is one of the things I could rely on, especially last year, is the Jets being good up front on defense. San Francisco, even without Christian McCaffrey, absolutely tore them apart between the tackles, and you can't sustain winning in the NFL no matter who you have at quarterback like that. So a lot of worry about the Jets right now. I'm not worried about Aaron Rodgers, guys. Just because he tore his Achilles doesn't mean he doesn't know how to throw a football. I'm more worried about the interior for the Jets' defensive line.
Yeah, I mean, the 49ers drafted Pooney as right guard, and he dominated during the whole game. So that offensive line is
the Niners are
really
good
too.
Him, yeah,
Jake Moody 6 field goals.
Yeah, do you know there's 4 quarterbacks in college making more money than Brock Purdy this year?
Wow,
how about that?
Wow,
that's insane.
Golly, broken market, I guess.
He's going to make bank next. He'll make bank next year.
Yeah, he's looking at Dak Prescott I'll take 75% of that.
Yeah.
You kidding me? You know how long you can live on that in Iowa?
These days, anybody can be the highest paid player in history.
That's exactly right. That and get to my buyout. But Tim, hey, buddy, thanks.
Thanks, Tim. All right, let's go to Matthew in Chattanooga. Matthew, what's up?
Hey, how you guys doing today?
Good.
What's up, man? Good, man. How you doing?
So, listen, I'm a big USC fan. Brian Cushing grew up 2 towns away from me when he went to Bergen Catholic. So
nice. He was good.
So I wanted to talk about the AP poll. So I kind of looked up a little bit of some stats. Penn State gave up over 290 yards to the Bowling Green quarterback. And obviously they won. Penn State did win the game, but their defense didn't do too well against Bowling Green. And then you got Oregon. If it wasn't for the 2 kick returns, they probably could have lost that game. So my question is with you guys is why would you think Penn State and Oregon would be ranked higher than USC? Because if you look at USC's schedule, they played LSU. Yes, LSU right now is a questionable team, but I think they're going to be decent this year. Mm-hmm. And Utah State, I mean, they shut them out. So, I mean, I don't know. What do you guys think about that?
And Utah. Utah's 12th right now.
Yeah, and here's what I think.
Utah State.
Yeah, I know. We know. He was talking about actually Utah as well.
Oh, yeah.
Here's where I'm at with the AP poll, and I know some guys that are AP poll voters that are fantastic, that know ball.
Yeah.
But I think most of them have no clue what they're watching because to me, to me, there needs to be a decent amount of movement in the AP poll week to week, right? It should be a snapshot in time.
That's how I do it.
Right? Like, that's how we do it. That's how we're going to do it when we do our college football playoff bracketology thing that we do every Thursday. It's like, and I get that teams are different week to week, right? And it's mainly about winning, but I think you should be ranked based on the way you looked when you played. Like, and to me, it's almost common sense that some of that's a little bit iffy, and it's still early, and I get that. But in all actuality, and I'm Broyles Award voter, and all that stuff's great. I think the AP poll sucks. If we're going to be honest, that's what I think.
Yeah, yeah, I agree. And by the way, man, it's off topic. My Giants need to get rid of Daniel Jones. I'm done with this.
Oh, dude. Yeah, it's bad.
I don't know if y'all saw this, but the Giants and the Panthers are playing in Germany.
Yeah, that's the last
punishment.
The last punishment for World War II is that those two teams have to play.
Oh,
what
man.
you get.
Who's going to get the number one pick now?
Right? So you thought the Treaty of Versailles was bad? Y'all got to go watch the Panthers play the Giants.
Yeah.
Ugh.
Great call, man.
Hey, great call, man.
Hey, God bless you guys.
You too, brother. God bless you. Let's go to Austin in Alabama. Austin, talk to us.
What's going on, guys?
What's up, Austin?
What's going?
I've called him before, the Duck fan from Bama.
Yeah.
We ain't looking too high right now.
Well,
not great.
Look, it's the thing is, y'all have the players and the personnel to fix it. Some people are just deficient. Like Auburn, I don't know if you can fix it. At least y'all got the cats that can fix it.
Well, the reason I think they can fix it is because Matthew Bedford is the big-time transfer we had on the O-line. Right before the season started, he got injured. Not a major injury. He is practicing. I don't think we'll see him against Oregon State, but then we enter the bye week. I think when we play against UCLA, that's when the gear's going to kick in for Oregon. They just got to get past Oregon State, and then you'll actually see the top 10 team Oregon can be in against UCLA.
Well, Austin, to me, I'm not as worried about Oregon on the offensive line. I know they didn't play great against Idaho offensively. That defensive line not being able to stop the run, when you know that's Boise State's best move. It's like Zoolander. He can't turn left. Like, you got one move. It's the same move. It's Ashton Johnson with the ball, and you still couldn't stop. That's what worries me.
Oh, that's true. It's a valid point. But I just think the chemistry of the O-line will get better by UCLA. Yes, the defensive line is a different subject, but also I believe in Dan Lanning, and I think that gets better over time because of him being the head coach.
Yeah, no, Dan, again, he can fix it.
If there's anything you can fall back on, man, Dylan Gabriel looks good.
Yeah.
DG's for real. And you need a guy like that to really take you to the promised land. I think Dan Lanning should get it fixed up front, but y'all average giving up 6.5 yards per carry against Boise State. And that can't happen.
And God forbid y'all can't run the ball great. Will Stein's offense is built in that quick passing game to be able to supplement the run game, and Dylan can get the ball out of his hand really. He's basically Doc Holliday.
Well, it's going to be really interesting when they play Ohio State. Ohio State won't face an offense that is capable of like Oregon. I ain't saying
I love the under.
Like they can.
I love the
And I haven't been impressed with Ohio State this year
either, to be honest with you.
They haven't just lit it up.
Not like they should look with what they got.
Exactly.
Yeah, I'll be at that game. I'm excited. I've already.
Dude, you got to take a pic and tag us on social, Austin. Hey, good luck in Alabama, man. Also, all right, buddy. Whether you're in Alabama, whether you're in Utah, whether you're in Puerto Rico, which I think you got to pay taxes there. If you're struggling with back taxes and unfiled returns, well, the IRS is adding 20,000 new agents. Man, these guys are the worst, and they're sending millions of demand letters. You talk about a team everybody can hate. Like the America, they say there's America's team, and then there's just the team everybody hates. Man, it's got to be them. And handling this alone, don't do it, all right? They're the government. They're going to trick you. They're going to do whatever they can because they're the government. You need a great offense, and I got one for you. The crazy thing is they can also play defense, too. That's our friends over at Tax Network USA. When you sign up, regardless of the size of your problem, if it's 10 million or 10,000, they can help. They're going to halt garnishments, levies, property seizures. If you need amended returns, they got that. They'll look at your financials, and they will put a plan together for you to get out of this that works for your current situation. It's like a personalized workout to get you in shape to get out of tax debt. And for a complimentary consultation, you can call today, 1-800-958-1000. Or visit their website, tnusa.com/booster. That's 1-800-958-1000. Or visit tnusa.com/booster today. Don't let the IRS take advantage of you. Take advantage of them. with Tax Network USA. Man, I don't like the IRS.
Love it. All right, thanks everybody for calling in. Anybody else on the line, y'all call in tomorrow.
Yes, tomorrow we maybe get to calls earlier so we can get everybody. All right, let's go to the chat. Let's go to bets. We're going to go to bets. Then we're going to do that.
Then we're going to end the show.
Then I'm going to do
But
that.
we don't do that every day.
I know, right?
Yeah,
It's crazy.
God, shut up, you guys. So mean.
That the girl from 50 First Dates.
Oh, good one.
It was James McAvoy from Split.
You guys done? You got to keep going. Ha, 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 ha. You got anything else? 10-second Tom?
You look great.
Yeah, thank you. You're like the guy from Memento. All right, give me the Red Sox. -1.5 on the run line at +145. Good day yesterday, but nobody's talking about it as we have to bet baseball. Getting ready for football again tomorrow. By the way, some really good week games, right? We get Arizona State, Texas State
I know,
tomorrow.
but it's good.
Arizona, Kansas State on Friday.
What do you talk about overs?
You talking about the Texas State one?
Yeah, both.
Yeah.
Arizona, Kansas State, too.
That's true. Then I'm going to take the Astros -1.5 on the run line at -118. We're going to see how they do. Bang on them trash cans. It's a curve. What do you got,
Did
Dave?
you know that 4 of the 5 teams in the AL Central are above 500? But the White Sox are so bad that the whole division is under.
It was hard for me to look Shapiro in the eyes when he showed up yesterday.
So let's just keep it going. Cleveland -1.5, -142, and then Cleveland White Sox Nerfy, no runs in the first, -135.
All right, I love it. Bring up them baseball bets. I'm so excited. Give me the Tigers -1.5, +114. Casey Mize on the mound. War Eagle. Phillies -1.5, going off at -115.
Hey, so what you got? You taking the Native American tribes again? Oh, not today. Orioles money line at +120. And then he's going to be bet buds with your boy, right? The Godfather. Astros -1.5 at -112. All right, get to them donations.
All right, if you donated today, chat, thank y'all so much. We really appreciate it. We're going to start it off with a $5 donation from our cousin Eugene. It says, question for Pate. Didn't get to it. I'm going to ask you two beautiful fellas. If USF upsets Miami and makes a playoff, can I have a golden chalice? That was my bold prediction that I messaged in the preseason.
Look, if you do it, I'll give you something. We should come up with something. Like, Pate's got the golden chalice. What do we want? Something booster club. Like, we need to come up with something.
Let's really think about it.
Not a booster shot. You can forget that. They got enough of those.
Let's go to a $7 donation from Joshua Hawley. Appreciate it. Says, what if...
Hold on. Who?
Joshua Hawley.
Josh Hawley, the senator?
Interesting. Keep going.
Okay. I believe he might have called in. He says, what if Georgia goes 12-0, Texas, Tennessee, Ole Miss, Missouri all goes 11-1? Does a 10-2 Bama...
Oh, he called in and asked that question.
Yep, he called in. Appreciate it.
Not that,
Let's go to Tim Tucker, $2 donation. Appreciate it. He says, David's widow peak is very impressive.
Yes.
Is it?
What is a widow peak?
The singer here.
Bend over and I'll show you. I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
Lame.
Take him
It was
anywhere.
an
I'm
innocent
sorry.
thing.
It's a layup.
It's an innocent thing. Leave it that way.
It's a layup. All right, let's go to a $4 donation split in two from Alan Bonner. Says, Blaine, it's Mr. Boner to you, sir. He says, does AU start Hank this week? And should he?
If we just cut this show 8 minutes early.
Oh, my gosh. Sorry, it's taking time for me to get over that. Hugh already said that it's a very short leash for Peyton Thorne. I hope so.
Like he's just got him by the collar?
There's no leash. He's just holding on to him at this point. He's going to give him a half. It's exactly what we said is going to happen. He's going to give him a half against New Mexico. It's either going to go good, people are going to kind of feel better, but deep down still feel bad, or it's going to go bad, and then Hank Brown's going to get in there. Hank won't start.
$2 donation from Hunter Hanna. Thoughts on Dilfer's high praise of Hank Brown?
Look, I know Trent knows quarterbacks.
Didn't they just get beat 40 by UL Monroe?
Yeah, but again, it's Trent Dilfer knows the quarterback.
Is that where he transferred from? Or he just coached him in...
You talking about Hank Brown?
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know what the
school?
connection is.
Or
He may have coached him in high school. Because Dilfer was a high school coach.
$5 donation from B58_Maddie. Appreciate it. He says, I know I'm late to the party, but how are those Commodores? Ran the fireworks on Saturday. We want Georgia. Hashtag 2-0. Hashtag expectations. Hashtag still going 3-9. But a proud 3-9.
Yeah, no, you guys are already over the win total, right? Right? They already are.
It was even 3. It was 3.
It was 3.
So if they beat Georgia State, they'll.
That's right. That's right. Just remember, the last time Benny was kind of hot, oh boy popped off about Bama, and then Bama went in there, and it was like, oh my God.
Oh, they're going to get Bama. That's the Booster Club tailgate.
That's going to be a time.
$5 donation from the Chief. Why Oklahoma State's ground game struggles? Poor O-line run blocking, ? Ollie's vision, ? Lack of play calling creativity, ? Or is it something else?
Dude, look, Arkansas just kicked y'all's ass up front. Like, I watched that. I watched that whole game. And it wasn't like Arkansas was putting everybody in the box all the time. They played well. They disengaged well. They were able to stalemate where they had to stalemate. Thought they tackled pretty well and didn't let Ollie, because where Ollie's really good is he's slippery in the box. Like he'll break through a tackle in the box and then make a safety miss on his way out. They weren't giving him any way out on the edges. Everything was north and south. So I thought Arkansas just played well. Y'all there's some games you just got to survive. And that was a survive game for Oklahoma State. I wouldn't be overly worried.
$5 donation from the Master Man. He says, hey, fellas, just found this show. I love it. You're definitely hitting that subscribe button.
Thank you, man. Welcome to It's amazing. When people find us, they're like, they don't leave. It's kind of like Hotel California.
Let's go to $2 donation from Tuck. What's up, man? He says, the one Takel Agend, David Cohn.
The what?
What? Takel.
Is that what they called old boy on Dune?
One take legend.
One take legend.
He missed.
I read what you put in the prompter, dude.
Yeah,
I can't.
I thought that was like El Galalib.
$5 donation from TJ. Just here to let everyone know that my quarterback is better than yours. # Go Canes. # Heisman Cam.
We get it.
Hey, the funny thing is, 99.99% of the time, you're 100% right.
$5 donation from Miley. Blaine, I love you. Miley, I love you too. $2 donation, last donation of the day, probably until I refresh it, from the Chief. Take on all these antics from the non-OK State fans. We're in trouble.
I wouldn't hit panic yet.
I think y'all will be all right. Let's get to the poll. If you donated today, guys, thank you so much. Should Lane Kiffin go to Florida? Yes or no?
No, 53%.
I'm going to go on the other side, but I don't think he should. I'm going to say yes, 52%.
No, 66%.
Wow.
A lot of people.
34%.
Interesting. Very interesting. Appreciate you guys. Got a great show for you tomorrow. Shout out to our boy Josh Pate, our sponsors, Bet Online, Game Time, Responsible Man, and Tax Network. Got a great show for you tomorrow. We're going to give you our updated college football playoff bracketology. Got some more games to talk about and break down and preview, because we'll actually have games on Thursday night. You guys are the best. Remember, without you, there is no us. Make sure you thank somebody that protects us here on September 11th if you get the chance. And remember what's important in life, and that we really are all in this thing together, regardless of what sports team we root for. And like the chances of me being excited about having no football on tonight, we're going.
Oh, that was nice.
Gone. That's fingertips. That's a catch. No Des Bryant.